Banking big shot Dave Fishwick is warning that the potential closures of over 100 post offices could be a nail in the coffin for far more businesses on Britain's already struggling high streets.
Well, it comes as postmasters who were hit by the Horizon computer scandal have been telling Good Morning Britain that losing the high street roles would be a disaster for frontline communities. Well, Bank of Dave Fishwick joins us now. I mean, I think anybody looks at those numbers. Hi, Dave, by the way.
Nice to see you. Good morning.
As always. 100 branches and 1,000 jobs at risk. That feels bad enough. But we all know what post offices mean to the whole community, don't we?
They're everything. Run by the community to benefit the community. The thing is, I visited my local post office yesterday and I spoke to Stephanie, who owns the post office.
Right.
Now, it's not one of those that's closing, but she's worried she might be next.
Well, yeah.
Take a look at this.
It's their businesses and they put their life and heart and soul into it for the rug to be ripped out from underneath them. They're going to feel like they personally let the communities down and obviously their livelihood and sometimes homes gone.
Yeah, I mean, that's a frightening thing, isn't it?
Isn't it just? Now, we also managed to speak to lots of customers. Now,
Right.
they're concerned too, and I think this is the important part. Real people speaking about their real concerns. So we actually had a chat with them as well.
Could it damage your business by all the post offices closing in the area?
Definitely, yeah, we use them a lot.
It's having somewhere nice to go, and this is a lovely little shop as well as a post office. It is part of everyone's lives in a little village like this.
A couple of elderly friends who don't have the internet, who rely very much on using the post office to get the pensions.
They seem to get it into the system that they can kick people when they want.
So
Somebody has to stand up and say, no, we've had enough.
That's you!
That's both of you, isn't it, actually, to be honest? And one of the ironies is, of course, people have been affected by bank branch closures. And one of the things that was said at the time by those banks is, well, you can still have transactions via the post office.
That's right.
And then if the post office goes, well, it's even worse,
We're
isn't
in a
it?
mess then, aren't we? Because over 54 branches a month are still closing. Over 6,000 bank branches have closed. We've now got 115 post offices looking at closing. We've only got 500 credit unions. So that's almost like 25% of the credit unions are closing down. Where are people going to go next? I mean, I'm absolutely horrified. There's going to be over 1,000 jobs lost. But the post office has been there, would you believe, for 360 years. And on 2024, we're going to shut 115 of them. So how does that work?
Well, I don't know. Listen, can anything be done about it? Because, of course, you know, the post office... Actually, we've got a comment from the post office about why. They told us that their plan provides a route to adding more than £250 million annually to total postmaster remuneration by 2030. And then this will ensure they are represented from the front line to the boardroom. I don't really understand that last bit, Dave, but...
It's always waffle. It's always waffle,
Right,
isn't it?
okay.
When they don't want you to understand it, just put it on the back of an envelope in 3 lines, what you're going to do. We're going to shut 115
I guess
branches.
what they're doing is cutting costs, aren't they?
Absolutely. But where are people going to go? I mean, we've got vital services to protect. People pay the bills, they access cash. Would you believe last month alone, 3.7 billion was paid in cash to the post office. So them saying that people aren't using it, that were a record month. So people are affected. I spoke to, as you saw on the TV there, I spoke to Gary. He's got a little business there in Sabden. He does a photo business. He needs to be able to post the photographs out to people. If the post office isn't there, he's not going to be able to do that. People pay the bills, the electric, the gas, the water. What happens to 90-year-old ladies who can't travel 20 miles to the next town? What happens to them when they want the pension? It's just so wrong.
It is really wrong. What are you going to do about it, Dave? Because I think it's down to you, isn't it? We're all looking at you, Dave, to save the day.
Well, I'm actually speaking to the government. I spoke to a wonderful guy yesterday called Christian Wakeford.
Right.
He's an MP and he's also Assistant Chief Whip. Now, he said, and I'm going to get this right...
OK.
He said he's organising a meeting with me for the Minister of Post Offices, Gareth Thomas, and also the Economic Minister, Tulip Sadiq. Now, hopefully, we can try and save some post offices because Christian's post office is one of those that's going to be closing. And he's starting a campaign. So he said he'd team up with me, he'd like me to speak to the government and put forward what community banking finance is all about, helping people. If we start shutting these 115, there'll be another 115. And they're sneaking it out in November. Isn't it interesting that they haven't put it out in the middle?
It's part of the problem, though, that more and more of us are less reliant on post offices, aren't using. There's so much more lots of us can do online. Now, admittedly, people of the older generation perhaps don't do as much online, maybe hardly anything online. Is that the slight problem? You can keep them open, but it's just a matter of time because I probably only use it if I want to go and send something by special delivery, really. You know, that's the only time I use a post office, I think.
That's a really good point. Now, there's so many people that use online facilities, but I'm working on a project with you guys again, with Carl Helm and Kate Hemingway, about somebody that's had £96,000 took out of their bank online. Right. You know, the problem with online, if you've nobody to speak to.
Right.
Now, my mum's nearly 80 years old. She's got the onset of dementia. She's ferociously protective of her rights and things, and she is so independent. She wants to be able to go and speak to somebody. Now, if we lose the ability to walk into somewhere like the post office, because the big bank said, we're shutting, Dave, but don't worry, the post office is going to be there for you. Well, hang on a minute, the post office ain't going to be there for people. We need to know there's access to money, cash, pensions and to pay bills.
I mean, one of the things that I use it for, funnily enough, because I do a lot of online shopping, is when I go there, there's queues and queues and queues of people, because the post office is how you return things.
Right.
So you use it, and actually there's a lot of young people using the post office. Of course, they'll pick other things up while they're there and they keep it going. But they use it for online. So actually, online and the post office aren't incompatible, are they?
That's a really good point, yeah, because I saw that yesterday. There were a great big parcel being picked up that couldn't have been put through anybody's letterbox, and it was left in the post office. And Stephanie said, no problem. And the guy come in and picked it up. But while he was there, he bought a pie, a cup of tea, a balloon and a Christmas card.
You get a pie in the post office in Burnley?
I tell you what.
I don't get that in my post office.
Steak, pudding, chips, peas and gravy next.
Look, we've got a comment here from someone who's emailed in. So I've really struggled since my bank closed. It was Barclays they were talking about. I now may pay my bills at the post office, who charge a fee of £2.50 for each bill. I'm paying £10 a month now just to pay the bills. I can't do online banking and I'm on a low income, and that £10 a month is really affecting me. You could argue, couldn't you, that in a way the post office doing that is not helping themselves?
Well, what I'd like to see is the government step in with some help for the post offices, because if we are genuinely led to believe that the post offices are the new high street banks, bearing in mind over 6,000 high street banks have closed and over 15,000 free-to-use cash machines have gone. That's over half the cash machines. If the post office is closed, that's an awful lot more cash machines. From Cornwall right down to the top of the country, you've got Scotland, right across to Ireland, right across to Wales. Nobody's out of this list. The list is all over the country. And I think what they do, I mean, there's 40 in London. There's nearly 10 in Manchester alone. Right. You know, these places are all over. And if we don't use them, we will lose them. And I want people to write to their MPs. I want them to tell them about the concerns, because if we don't fight for it, this 115 will just be the first.
Yeah.
Dave, we've had some financial news this morning, haven't we? We had the growth figures out. So previous quarter, they were 0.5. Before that, 0.7. Some analysts were saying it might be 0.2 when they came out this morning. In fact, it's 0.1%. So still growing, but a much slower rate. How will people feel that impact, and are you concerned about it?
Yes, people write to me at the Bank of Dave all the time with their concerns. I mean, I've told you in the past, people have wrote to me asking for a loan for baby milk. What we need in this country is a net for people to fall on, to bounce back up into society, to be able to then contribute back into society. Those at the top, they need to pay their fair share, but it also needs to be fair for them to continue to do business in this country and contribute. But I'd like to see 3 words: investment, investment, investment in this country. Now, the government have only been in a few weeks, really, so let's give them a chance. Let's let them do the right thing. let's see them do the right thing with the post offices. Let's see them do the right thing with investment, and let's create a fairer society for everybody. We're a rich country, and there should be a place for everybody, and we should look after them.
But this government have said everything depends on good economic growth. They want to drive economic growth. People will be looking at that figure released this morning and think, well, it's not working.
Well, there again, it's going to take a little bit of time. You know, if you say that to me again in 6 months' time, Kate, I'm going to be saying, do you know what? We need to be changing something. But I think it does take time for something to get into place. When my guys at the bus garage come up with a new idea, it takes 3 to 6 months for that to see any sort of gain whatsoever. But within 12 months, sometimes that can be 10% of the overall gain. So it's not just one fix is going to fix all of it, but we need to see serious investment. It can't just be taxed out of us. It has to be investment as well. The ones at the top with the broadest shoulders need to take the most responsibility, and those at the bottom need a net to fall on. And everybody else in the middle, we just need a fairer society.
OK, Dave, thanks very much. Dave Fishwick, the Bank of Dave. What will you do this weekend? Do you put your feet up? 'Cause you work very hard.
No, I do 7 days a week. Yeah. But no, I'm going to be trying to save the post offices this weekend.
Oh, bless you.
Be out with your placards.
Yeah. Save the post office. Save Dave. Save with Dave.
Save with Dave. Good man.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks very much
Thank you.
indeed.